Hello, hello. Kirsten here, your decision coach for the episode, and I am so excited for today's conversation. My shoulders are already going. So, on the day this comes out, real time, it's my birthday. And I thought, why not have a birthday themed episode about owning what you want, even if other people have thoughts and feelings about it? This is one of my absolute most favorite things to talk about. It comes up all the time in coaching, specifically decision coaching, because what are we always making decisions about, and why can they often be a struggle? What we want can be unclear. What we want can cause discomfort to other people. They can cause obstacles. It can cause ickiness. We're going to talk today as I have this kind of reflection day, 41 trips around the sun. How do you own what you want and get over all of this discomfort and weirdness about what other people have to do with what you want? Just so you know where I'm coming from here, I am super curious on your thoughts on this, actually, because we have a quiz over here in the Decision Masters podcast corner of the universe. It's your decision style quiz. And there's a category of people pleasing. And a fair amount of people who take the quiz get that result. But I am actually genuinely curious how you feel about that label, for lack of a better word, because I personally never really identified as a people pleaser. And so you know where my habits have changed over the course of my life. I am someone who had unrecognized extreme discomfort with my ideas about other people's thoughts, to the point that it would drive a lot of my decisions. Here are some fun examples. I always assumed I should just drive to wherever we were going to have plans, a friend and I, or a group of friends, even if we were all spread out. I live in Los Angeles. People can tend to be spread out. We got to drive across town and hang out together. And my automatic assumption for years was I'll do the driving. Do these mental calculations ever happen in the background of your thoughts? Like, oh, well, if they had to come here where I am, that would be 2 hours of driving for them. That's not okay to ask. I'll just drive 2 hours. Or if we met in the middle, that would be like 45 minutes of driving each way. So why don't I just go an hour and a half so they have to go less? That was just, like, no questioning. That was my truth. That was how I operated. Same thing happened with bills a lot of the time when we would split bills. This was not intentional. This was not super conscious. It's just how I felt when I would divide a bill up. Let's say I paid, but we all agreed we would split something and I just happened to be the one to pay. And I was Venmo requesting. I would just knock $5 or $10 off of everybody's, because I was like, this is too much to ask for the exact amount that they really genuinely owe and agreed to pay for. Can't do that. I don't think they'll like this number. I don't think they'll like me. And there are a lot more examples. I would make up excuses to not attend things or help with things or not do things that were genuinely inconvenient for me, like I already had other plans. But instead of just being honest, I would make up some excuse that I thought would be more acceptable for someone else or cause less problems. Sometimes I would actually inconvenience myself because somebody was asking me for something, even early in my coaching practice when I was brand new at running a business with boundaries. Clients would ask to meet at a certain time or a certain day that I did not plan on having sessions. And I would just say yes. Just this automatic over accommodating, over explaining, over apologizing behavior. So I don't know if anyone out there relates to this. You find yourself constantly and automatically just doing more, just assuming I should take more of the responsibility. I should do more work than someone else, or I don't want them to be inconvenienced or disappointed. So I should figure out how to make this work, even though it's disappointing / inconvenient for me. That was my flavor of people pleasing, if that's what we want to call it. When I was walking around the world, really not owning what I want, not even giving a lot of thought to what I want, just operating in that kind of defense mode. And I think a lot of us can end up this way because we're taught to be accommodating. We're conditioned to not take up more space than other people. In our professional environments, we can be taught that upsetting other people will cost you and put your success in danger. Owning what you want is a much more fun way to live. You save a lot of money on gas and paying for portions of bills you never should have paid for in the first place. But you also get to feel genuinely connected to the life you're living, feel more in charge of a lot of it because it's there on purpose. And you also feel a lot better in your relationships because you're being more honest about who you are. And that has an impact on how connected you actually feel to the people that you are relating to. So here's the big shift. Okay. Here's what is required at the root of this habit change. It's a shift of focus. You shift your focus from, I'm so sorry, this isn't what you want, to, it is okay for me to want what I want. I want you to imagine a stage and a spotlight. Both of these things can be on stage at the same time. You can genuinely be sorry. We're just going to go with the sorry example first, but don't worry. We're going to talk about a lot of different decisions. Let's just imagine it's true that you're sorry, that what you want isn't what someone else wants you to want. Your decision isn't what they want you to decide. That can be on stage. The big shift that's going to make the big difference in you not living this way anymore is moving the spotlight from this isn't what they want to it is okay to want what I want. That's the thing we want to start putting the spotlight on. It's okay for me to want what I want. What I want you to recognize is that this belief has no other people in it. It doesn't actually have anything to do with anyone else and their opinions, their feelings, even how they are affected in real life by your decisions. We're not talking about any of that. This is actually a very difficult thing for people to wrap their heads around because their brains automatically link it is okay to want what I want with what does that have to do with other people? This is making me selfish. This is making me irresponsible. This is making me inconsiderate. So that's the big shift. All right. Learning to put the spotlight on this belief and just look at it for what it is. Just figure out, how much do I believe this? How much do I want to believe this? Can I separate this from other beliefs that could be on stage at the same time? They're just not in the light. Like it might be selfish or I'm worried it's inconsiderate. All of those things can be true at one time. But we're looking at how comfortable are you believing that it's okay for you to want what you want? You might not struggle with this at all. Great. Let's move on to the next part of this journey of the habit change. You also want to shift the spotlight from, I need to avoid this discomfort, to discomfort is a part of life I can live with. This is usually the next hurdle because as soon as we get on board with, okay, I'm going to want what I want. That sounds pretty nice. All right, let's go to this party. I'm going to start dancing. Uh-oh. The next problem we encounter is wanting what I want has made someone else uncomfortable, or I am anticipating that it will. And now I am uncomfortable. So this is usually in our habit chain reaction where we take on the responsibility. We think, well, I don't want anyone else to be uncomfortable, so I'm going to be uncomfortable instead. So what we're doing is we are not deciding it is better for other people to be uncomfortable and I don't care. That's not what we're deciding. The belief we're putting on stage in the spotlight is discomfort is an okay part of life. That's it. Notice we're not saying, I want people to be uncomfortable. I don't care about anyone else but myself. We're not saying any of that. We're trying to get to this place of acceptance that discomfort happens. And when I say discomfort, we're using that as kind of a catch-all. Discomfort can be annoyance, resentment, anger, disappointment, sadness. Anyone can have any kind of flavor of discomfort about your choices, about what you want. And when we are working together, clients and I, and we are getting them more adept at making choices they like and trusting them and untangling all of the complicated noise that usually leads to them making choices they don't super love, this is something we really have to build a skill around. Accepting that discomfort might be an okay thing for other people to experience and for us to experience. It might actually not be our job and sole responsibility on the planet to keep people from feeling discomfort. The fun part, coaching side note, is when people start recognizing that the other players in their life have more of a choice in this discomfort they're experiencing. than the person, the decision maker, has been giving them credit for. It's always interesting when someone comes to me with this kind of aha moment of, oh, you know what? I was honest about my decision I'm making and how it has nothing to do with this person and how it's not personal and how it's a good choice for me and all these things. And they still chose to take it personally and make it mean something about them. I just found that interesting. That's how they're choosing to react, to be uncomfortable. Are they choosing that on purpose, consciously? Probably not. But is that ball in their court? Yes, it is. So is it our problem? Maybe not 100%. So we're shifting some spotlights here, right? Another belief we're going to stop putting the spotlight on is they might judge me. And we are moving that spotlight all the way over to stage left to highlight this idea that their opinion doesn't outrank my opinion. This comes up a lot in conversations about people's professional environments. It can be easy in certain professional environments to believe that other people's opinions are objectively more important than yours because they are in charge of what assignments you get, how much you get paid, or whether you keep working there. So this can be another hurdle for people who are really wanting to own their choices more, but feel at some point like that will be putting them in some kind of danger. So again, I want you to recognize, what are we spotlighting and what are we not spotlighting? What we're spotlighting is this idea that other people's opinions aren't more important than my opinions about myself in my life. We're actually seeing how comfortable can you be with the idea that you can take up space in your own life. And we're seeing how comfortable can you get with this idea that people might judge you, because it's a sad fact of life, right? Haters gonna hate, judge, or just gonna judge. So we're keeping that on stage. People might judge me for what I'm about to do or what I want. And we are seeing if we can make the idea that my opinion matters more important. We're seeing how peacefully can these things coexist. But which are you making more important? My opinion matters, or they might judge me. Let me recap, because there was a lot of movement on stage. Okay, we're shifting the spotlight from, I'm sorry, this isn't what you want, to, it is okay for me to want what I want. We're shifting the focus from, I need to avoid anyone being uncomfortable at any cost, to, discomfort is an okay part of life I'm willing to accept. We're shifting the focus from, they might judge me, to, my opinion matters. Maybe a lot, maybe the most. I want to validate that this is not an overnight, super easy, effortless process. There is a weird kind of guilt we can feel once we do get clear on what we want and decide we want to own it. You know, you have little sprinklings of clarity guilt if you have thought things like, but I could do that thing that they're asking me to do. Like, technically, I could do it. Technically, I have the time, I have the ability. If you think things like, but what if this makes them feel left out? Or what if this disappoints them? Or what if this makes them think that I don't want the job or I don't love them? This is a really good one. If you thought, you know what, this is just going to be easier if I don't make a big deal out of it. How many weddings have you paid to go to across the country because this would just be easier if I didn't make a big deal out of it? We should just go. We have to go. It's what you do. Now, these thoughts aren't a bad thing, and you're not wrong for thinking them. They're clues, though. They are clues that you might be clearer on what you want than you're letting yourself own. Because if you find yourself having these kinds of thoughts, it means they are reactions to the thoughts about what you want. I don't want to go to that thing. I don't want to do that thing. But you know what? Technically, I could. So I shouldn't not do it. I don't have a good reason to not do it. All of those clarity, guilt thoughts are actually reactions to you being clear. So our job is to make it easier for you to find out and name and just process what you're clear on. We want you to be able to accept what you want without all this nonsense, without all these mental gymnastics of justifying it or seeing if it's the right thing to want. You don't always have to make the decision in the end about what you want. We don't live in that world. I would not like to pay taxes. It's not what I want to do. but I find reasons I like to do it anyway. So we're not saying just go crazy. Only do what you want and never do anything that you don't want. But we're saying start from a place of clarity and from owning what you want. Because when you start from there and you're honest about it and you don't spiral into clarity guilt immediately about what you want, you're going to make a lot more choices that you genuinely like and trust. And you're going to end up with a life you genuinely like much more than if you constantly ignore or deflate what you want and live your life with the spotlights on, I'm so sorry, this isn't what you want. Nobody needs to be uncomfortable. I can't have anybody judging me. As I round the corner into the next trip around the sun, here are some real life specific examples of how I know I am owning what I want more. I want you to see if you are already doing any of these and you can give yourself a high five, or if any of these are your next growth area. You're like, yep, that would make a big difference. Let's focus on that one. Just one at a time is totally fine. This is what I noticed when I was reflecting on this episode and, my past year. This is what I noticed I have done a lot less of, and it has brought me much, much, much more peace. And it's easier to make decisions that feel quickly aligned with like who I want to be and what I want to care about. Okay, the first one is big, so I'm taking a deep breath. Are you ready? It can be hard. Could be easy. It might be hard. The first one is not making it a big, dramatic deal when someone isn't being who you want them to be. There was a coach early in my training years. So this is 7 or 8 years ago. I was listening to her podcast. Her name is Brooke Castillo. This was, like I said, almost 10 years ago now. So I can't speak to who she is and how her business is and how her podcast is today. I'm telling you a story from my past. She is where this idea came from that actually ended up being really helpful in my understanding of other people and how I relate to them. She had this idea that we have manuals for other people and how they should be. Like I wrote a manual about how you're supposed to react, how you're supposed to show up in this relationship, what you're supposed to say, what you're not supposed to say, the correct things to do, the right ways to do them. When you find yourself constantly disappointed or frustrated by other people, it's an interesting lens to look at, oh, do I have a manual for this person? Do I have an expectation of who they should be and how they should be that they are failing to deliver on? But actually, did they sign up to be that person? Did they apply for that job and know all the job requirements? Or did I just write this in secret and hold them to these standards? Sometimes people did make agreements and then they fall short of those agreements. That's not what we're talking about. How this relates to our topic of owning what you want with more ease and with more gusto is the less dependent I am on other people being how I want them to be, the more energy I can put into being how I want to be. That's what it comes down to. Not constantly living in this push pull of I can only get what I want if you give me what I want. If you are how I need you to be, then I can be okay and get what I want. And this works on the high level and the ground daily life level. I think a really good example is when you are out with someone, a friend, shopping around, or I'm thinking of the last time Kenny and I were having a rare day off together in person in the same place. And you really want something like get a coffee or make sure you see that thing or walk down this street because that's where you're curious to go. It can be as simple as letting yourself own that truth. Own, yeah, this is what I want right now. And not needing the other person to say it first, or even wanting to play along with you and go down that street or go get the coffee. There's peace in being able to say, oh, okay, I know what I want right now. This is the experience I want to have in this moment. And if they don't want to come or they don't want to do that, that's okay. I'm going to make sure I get what I want in some form or fashion. And I'm going to allow this person to want whatever they want at this moment. That's a very small, granular example, but those moments add up to, are you in constant disappointment or frustration with people around you and using that as a way to deny yourself what you want? Or are you a little bit at peace with people get to want what they want and I get to want what I want? So that's one example. Another habit I've changed over the years, it's not basing plans on avoiding other people's disappointment or inconvenience. And this goes back to those examples I started with being okay, meeting in the middle, being okay, asking someone to come all the way to me, splitting the bill, just no drama. But this also applies to higher level, grander life things like how you maintain relationships, who you maintain relationships with, what you do with your time off in the year. It's interesting to consider when you release responsibility for making sure nobody gets upset and nobody thinks you're being a bad friend, parent, daughter, son, in-law, PTA member, whatever. It can really impact big life decisions that you make when there's a little more comfort with, I don't know actually what someone's going to think of my choice to do this or not do this or do this in a certain way. But I'm going to let that be their business. And my spotlight's going to be on, is this okay for me? So the way I phrased it was not making plans based on avoiding other people's disappointment or discomfort, but you can see how it bleeds into other areas. And the final thing that I notice, what's working well for me when it comes to owning my choices, is being more honest and not apologizing so much. Remember how I said I used to make these excuses that I thought were better reasons for doing or not doing something because I didn't think the truth was okay. Something I've noticed is I'm just spending a lot less energy on explaining and justifying and apologizing. And I am being more honest in a way that invites other people to join me in my okayness. This is a two-way street. This is where working on needing people to be a certain way also serves you, because when you need people to be a certain way less, you are okay not being a certain way for other people. You can have more peace with saying, I am not going to make it and wish you the best, when you would be okay hearing that from someone, even if it's not what you want, but you've kind of dropped your manual and you're like, yeah, it's okay for you to want what you want and it's okay for me to be disappointed by it. Then you get to reap the benefit of being able to say that to somebody else. And you invite them to join you in your acceptance of it. Like, yeah, I think it's okay that I want this. And I think it's okay if that disappoints you. Notice the words I'm saying are not, I don't care that you're disappointed. You can care. You can care that someone doesn't like your decision and not change your decision because of it. So I want to wrap up my birthday episode. Thanks for hanging out with me today, by the way. This has been so much fun. I'll wrap up by reiterating owning what you want doesn't have to be selfish, doesn't have to be inconsiderate, doesn't have to be thoughtless. It does have to be about taking up more room in your own life, making yourself the main character in your own story and not in the creepy main character syndrome, overinflated ego, narcissistic way. But really, am I actually living my one and only life as if I am a side character, a supporting player? Or do I feel pretty dang important and central in the story? Owning what you want involves taking an honest look at what you've been taught or conditioned to apologize for or to assume isn't available to you, and updating all those beliefs so that at least the things with the spotlights on them on stage are things you put there. We're going to have stuff on stage we didn't put there on purpose, and maybe we don't even want there. We're going to have old beliefs. We're going to have old habits. Do we have to live with all of them forever? Maybe not. Maybe we can work on all of them one at a time, but there's no like magic clean sweep of the stage. We're going to remain complex humans. But we want to at least look at what beliefs are mic'd up, have the spotlight on them, and are taking focus, running the story. We want to make more of those beliefs and habits intentional. And that just takes updating a lot of the time. We have people running around who got cast like 20 years ago. It's like, you don't need this part anymore. Thank you for your service. You've done a great job. It's time for you to retire or at least move up stage out of the light. So some things for you to consider here today. Where are you adjusting your life around what someone might feel? What decisions are you making or changing or talking yourself into because of what someone might think? Where are you skipping over or arguing with what you want? And can we spend a little more time just in that owning what you want part? And if you want to spend more time on that and you want to have less clarity, guilt, and you want to make more decisions that have anything to do with what you genuinely want, maybe it's time for us to talk. I work with people one on one right now. We go through your goals, your habits, how you want to be operating, how you don't want to be operating anymore. And we work through intentional habit change using tools and exercises backed by science, pulling from positive psychology and what it says about what makes you really happy, pulling from stress regulation and anxiety management so you can actually regulate your nervous system, make more clear headed choices. And we get you understanding your habits and letting go of judgment about them so you can see yourself actually making different choices real time and feeling more and more in charge of how you are driving the ship every day. I know I went from the theater to the ship thing, but you get me. You know where we're going with this. So if that sounds like what you need right now, let's talk. You can learn more about how our coaching works at the link in the show notes. You can also set up a conversation with me or send in an inquiry form, get the conversation started, and we'll see if it's a good fit. Thank you so much for spending my birthday with me. Have a fabulous rest of your weekend and maybe have a little more fun owning what you want and see what happens. Don't forget, I'm here to help. I'll talk to you soon. Hey, want to find out your decision style? Obviously, go take the decision style quiz. It's in the show notes and at kirstenparker.com/quiz. We all have our style when it comes to making decisions, but do you know how to use your default way of thinking to your advantage? Or do you mainly get stuck in the most annoying parts of overthinking and people pleasing? The decision style quiz has your answers, my friend. Take it right now at kirstenparker.com/quiz.